Hey there, welcome to the Hot Slice Podcast. This is the podcast brought to you by Pizza Today magazine. I am your host, Denise Greer. Along with me is Kate Lavin. Hello, Kate.
Hello, Denise.
Hello. It's good to have you back on the podcast again. It's been a couple minutes.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, this is totally your bag. I love it. Because you actually are coordinating with our guest on a new series on pizzatoday.com, which we are loving it. There are like maybe three installments of it already. So tell us a little bit about our guest and the new series, and maybe we can talk a little bit about pizzatoday.com.
Absolutely. So today we are talking to Jason Cipriani, the owner of Sips and Pies, a mobile pizzeria in Pueblo, Colorado. And he has started writing a series for pizzatoday.com all about his journey to opening this mobile pizzeria. So, starting with all of the questions, whether to do brick and mortar or mobile or pop up, what kind of pizza to offer, what kind of oven to buy, and all the way through, is he going to need a commissary? Deciding what kind of toppings to order. We actually speak with him in this episode about how he landed on the drinks to offer, and that was an enlightening conversation for sure.
Absolutely. And I say this in the podcast, but I love that we are hitting it real time. So we are dealing with somebody that's going through the process at the moment, that's able to reflect on what he's going through and the decisions he's making and the challenges he's facing. So that's the one thing I love about the series. And I love that we're bringing it to pizzatoday.com, giving it some spark of that new mobile energy over there.
Yeah, and Jason is a really great writer. I'm really enjoying the way he's laying it out in terms
Mhm.
of, not trying to cover up the fact that there were challenges and hurdles to overcome. He thought it was going to cost a certain amount of money in the beginning, and as you'll hear, one call to the health department made him realize he needed about 10 times as much to make his dream a reality.
I love that. It's so amazing. And he's just a part of what we have going on at pizzaday.com. I mean, I'm not going to brag, but we are going to brag because with you on board now, we're able to put a lot more energy into pizzatoday.com and put a lot more new and fresh content. So you're going to want to visit pizzatoday.com a lot more because there is just an infusion of content always with that barometer that if it is not helping you succeed or teaching you something or giving you something, that's just not something we do. So I love it.
Absolutely fantastic. And if the way that you know about Pizza Today is through Pizza Expo, we always have all the information you need about Pizza Expo and other events. So definitely check it out, pizzatoday.com.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump into our conversation with Jason.
All right, let's do it.
Are you ready to elevate your bakeware game? Spokane, Washington based Lloyd Pans is the trusted name for professionals and home chefs alike. For over 40 years, Lloyd Pans has been creating innovative food service, bakeware, and pizza pans and tools designed to deliver perfect results every time. Whether it's crispy golden pizza crusts or perfectly baked pastries, Lloyd Pans' durable, stick resistant, and proprietary pan finishes are a game changer. Visit lloydpans.com to explore our full lineup and find your perfect pan today. Need shipping quotes or custom products? Email sales@lloydpans.com for personalized service. Performance Food Service is proud to deliver high-quality products, innovative technology, and custom operational solutions to restaurants of all sizes across the country. The flagship division of Performance Food Group, with deep roots in the restaurant industry, Performance Food Service has been the exclusive distributor of the Roma family of brands for more than 65 years. This signature relationship has allowed Performance Food Service to become a leader in the pizza and Italian segment of food service nationwide.
Welcome to the Hot Slice Podcast, the podcast from the Pizza Today family. Today we're joined by Jason Cipriani, who is the owner of Sips and Pies in Pueblo, Colorado. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks for coming on the show. It's awesome.
It's exciting.
So you recently started writing a column for Pizza Today. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've been covering in your various columns?
Yeah, so for the last 15 or 16 years, I was a freelance technology journalist, and I left that about a year ago, partly to pursue opening a mobile pizzeria with my wife. And over that year, one thing I really missed was storytelling
Mm.
and just writing in general. I would still write, but not, in depth and sharing my, deep down darkest thoughts. And so, not darkest, but and so what I really wanted to do was write about the experience of opening a pizzeria, a mobile pizzeria specifically. And so I reached out to Denise and Jeremy
Mhm.
and just kind of cold emailed them and was like, hey, I'm an ex freelance journalist. I really want to tell the story of what my wife and I have been through over the last 2 years of opening a mobile pizzeria, from the highs and the lows, sometimes in the same day. And they gave me a shot. And so we're a few weeks into the column now of detailing what it's like and the decision making and like I said, the highs and the lows of going through that entire process and the journey we went through to get to the point where we're at now and we're operating.
That's
What
great.
what I love about this whole thing is that you're doing it in real time, so that we're getting a lot of real time reaction to what it's like to be a first time restaurateur and to open something up from scratch and your journey as you move forward. I just love that.
Yeah, thank you. I've taken a lot of notes over the last 2 years as we've gone on because I've always wanted to tell this story, and I've had people approach me, a local documentary maker approached me, wanted to do a documentary.
Mm.
We talked about doing a podcast, my wife and and I just never could find the right place until, I had been debating emailing you guys at Pizza Today for months, and finally I was talking to an editor friend of mine. They're like, just email it, see what
Shoot your
happens.
shot.
And
Shoot your
yeah,
shot.
and and I know that's what it takes to get these
Yeah.
chances, but because I've been through it many times, I just wasn't sure if I was truly ready to tell the story until we I hit send on that email and things happened.
Well, I really enjoy the way you've been laying it out, uh, the various decisions that you have to
Yeah.
make, all of the choices that are involved from, deciding that this is something you want to do, all the way to actually serving pizza to the public. So, what would you say have been some choices you've had to make that surprised you on the journey to opening?
Oh wow, that's a tough question. Choices I had to make that surprised me. We just covered choosing pizza styles. I really thought I could make Detroit style pizza work, and I probably could if I really went back to the drawing board. That decision I made at Pizza Expo 2024. So I made that
Yeah.
decision a year ago to go with Neapolitan style pizza. And in especially the last 6 months, I've learned a lot more about what goes into setting up and actually running service, more specifically in the last 2 months. And now with that extra knowledge, I think I could probably figure out how to do it in a timely manner that I
Yeah.
would want to do it in now that I have that experience. But at the same time, I was dead set for like a full year on that's what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And uh, I was kind of heartbroken as I walked around the show floor in 2024, realizing that, the best way to speed up this process and go through everything as far as serving and, cook time and serving pizza was to go with Neapolitan style. But so that one's really surprised me because I thought I could make it work. Yeah, that's a tough question. And there's been a lot of surprises along the way, I think. Going with the wood fire oven. I had my once we decided Neapolitan, there was no way in the world I wanted to touch a wood fire oven. I didn't want to have to manage the fire in addition to cooking pizzas. And I had my heart set on a Gosney or an Uni portable and multiple of them. We knew we'd have to have 3 or 4, maybe 5 of them running, but they ran themselves, right, at the same time. And but eventually, once that light bulb went off and I saw what a wood fire oven can do, especially mobily, that was a big surprise to me as well.
Very cool. Let's see. So Sips and Pies, you have Sips right in your name, and I realized your last name is Cipriani.
Yep.
Did that play a role, or do you have any interesting beverages that you're hoping to serve in the future?
Yeah, so both sips and pies is a play on words, of course. Sips for Cipriani as well as drinks, and pies for pizza. But so in order to honor sips, we didn't want to just serve drinks from Walmart or Sam's or Costco, whatever the cheapest pop or water was that week, and then just mark that up. So we spent a lot of time really thinking about how to honor the SIPS part of our name. And we did like a private preview event for friends and family last October, right after we got our trailer here at the house. And we bought like every sparkling water and soda you could, every brand. We went to King Soopers, just went up and down the aisle, six pack of everything in. We wanted to see what people grabbed, And at one point we talked about doing hop water,
Hmm.
and nobody touched the hop water. Like there was still a six pack sitting in there, and
It had
and
its day
so
for a minute and then it just tanked.
right. Yeah, and very early on in the process, I was told that non-alcoholic drinks, so non-alcoholic beer and mocktails you have to have a liquor license. And I was told by multiple people, so I just took it for, okay, that's what I have to do. I can't serve
Hmm.
that because originally I was like, we'll just serve non-alcoholic beer. The athletic beer is really good. It tastes like the real
Yeah.
stuff. Blue Moon tastes exactly like Blue Moon, and I figured we would do that. So we had to kind of go around that a little bit. And then long story short, we had a survey during our private preview and nobody liked our drinks. Absolutely, do not serve sparkling water, do not serve, all this stuff. And so that was the feedback we got. I was heartbroken. I was like, man, I don't want to serve Coke and Pepsi and, all this other stuff.
Yep.
And so we went back to the drawing board. And as opening in April got closer, I kept coming back to Liquid Death, which is
Yeah.
sparkling water, but they recently rolled out soda
Very
flavors.
popular.
Yeah, and it's very popular, great branding, right? And just a good message and a good story. And it's fun. And so we went to Whole Foods and we bought every Liquid Death that was on the shelf. And we just sat there with the kids drinking Liquid Deaths all day long. And eventually we're like, this is what it is. This is what we're gonna do. And so I was getting closer to opening, and I was writing a series of posts kind of explaining what sips and pies are to our Facebook and Instagram followers. And got to the sips section, and I wrote in there something about how non-alcoholic beer can't be served without a liquor license. And I thought, I probably should look this up. I mean, this is like a week before opening. I probably should look this up with the liquor license or the liquor laws here in Colorado and just double check. Well, that was a rabbit hole that just opened wide up, and I ended up
Uh-oh.
on the phone with the Liquor Enforcement Board for the state of Colorado, and there's no requirement at all for that. They view it
Oh,
just like
wow.
a soda, each state's different, right? So
Yeah.
always contact the local authorities to figure out what you need to do, but they view it just like you're serving a Pepsi, and I can serve it to anyone of any age or whatever. So we had to very quickly repivot again, like a week before we were going to open. And so now we have Liquid Death plus non-alcoholic drinks.
Oh, I love that. But that's what testing is for. Like,
Right.
and that's why it's so crucial to do that stuff before you get open. I mean, that is what your friends and family are for, is to make them guinea pigs and make them figure it out for you.
Yeah, exactly. So when we did our friends and family weekend, we did the first Saturday we set up, we just created a Facebook event. We invited only family. And so
Mhm.
it was like 35, 40
Because
people.
family are going to be honest with you. Friends may.
Well, no, family's gonna be like, yeah, this is great, and then behind your back say it's not great, right? Like
Oh.
they're right, they're gonna tell you it's great. So we did the anonymous survey stuff, but on the second day we invited 70 Facebook followers, people we didn't really know,
Oh,
and we
wow.
just had them come and it was the first time my wife and kids who were all there with me were serving pizza to people. I had gone through some classes and done some stuff in high school and whatnot with jobs, maybe not serving people or pizza specifically, but in the restaurant industry. And so I kind of knew how service was going to go, although it was a huge learning curve. But we served, 27 pizzas in 35 minutes at one point, and I was just super proud of everyone. But the feedback we got on that survey from followers was tremendous and very, very insightful.
Ooh,
That's
that's so interesting. What are some things that they said that changed the way you operate now?
I think the biggest one was the drinks. Like we were
mhm.
set on that style of drink, and in a way we still are serving that, but it has a little bit different branding and flavors as well. So that was probably the biggest one. The second one was just reinforcing that we were on the right path for our sauce and our dough and the style of pizza we were doing. There was some that suggested, adding basil on top instead of in the sauce and stuff like that. But there wasn't anything that was like, oh, okay, we really need to change something outside of the drinks.
That's good. That's really good. There's something I'm very curious about. So, our industry, pizzerias, there are a lot of folks that come in from different things where they've just been completely outside of the restaurant industry and outside of pizza, and then they come into the industry. Why pizza? What was it about pizza that brought you in?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've always loved pizza, as a little kid and growing up, but I think where it really comes full circle for me is when I was younger, my dad managed pizzerias. He would manage Pizza Hut,
Oh,
Godfather's Pizza, whatever. So I remember being second or third grade and going hanging out with him at a local Pizza Hut here for spring break and just working back there with him and just being fascinated with the entire process of mixing these seemingly random ingredients together for, a 7 or 8 year old. And a few hours later, it turns into dough. And then you put it through this oven, and there's this temperature thing that goes on, and then it's pizza on the other side. And like, I just remember just totally being fascinated with it. And so
it's
I think that's
magic.
kind of where the spark happened, and I really wanted, growing up, I wanted to own a pizzeria, like a brick and mortar, have an awesome tap list. I brewed beer at home for a lot of years. And so I was really into that for a while. And so like it was always on the bucket list of things to do, own a pizzeria. But as I said, and I think the second installment of the column, like owning a brick and mortar, you are married to the business. You're not married to your family anymore. And I'm married, we have 3 kids, and so it was never truly an option for us to do that. And so that's how the mobile aspect came out, and we have a lot of flexibility with that. But yeah, I think the spark really was ignited with my dad.
I love that.
You mentioned in one of your columns that you made a call to the health department that kind of set
Yeah.
your entire business plan on fire a little bit. Could you talk about
Oops.
how that went?
There were a few calls with them that did that. But the biggest one, the one you're referring to, is so originally the idea was let's make this as simple as possible. I had just got done reviewing the Univolt, which is their electric oven for Men's Journal, and I was eating some leftover pizza the next day for lunch and just kind of going through like you could really make pizza for people fast with these because it's so easy, especially in that oven. The temperatures, it's like an easy bake pizza oven. It really is, any of the electric
Mhm.
ones. You put the pizza in, you go do something else. 2 minutes later, you don't even rotate it. It's done. And so the spark went off like, hey, I bet you we could do pop-ups with a couple of these, make pizza, sell, if we sell 50 pizzas a night, we'll be happy, or I would be happy. And so I went down and started researching everything I would need to do this. I found like local people who use Gosney or Uni ovens and started, stalking their Instagrams. And I saw these tent setups that had ovens on them and prep tables with coolers where the toppings were and like this whole setup. So I went through and I priced everything out that I would see in all these pictures. And then I was like, I probably should call and have a conversation with the health department, see what else is required. And so I called. Guy put me on hold for a few minutes after I explained the idea of a tent with a couple tables with ovens, cooler for the toppings, and he came back and said, "Sorry, the law in Colorado is it has to be on wheels, which means a truck or a trailer." And I was like, "Wait, but like they're portable. I can pack them up and I can because it has to be easily movable," is what he explained to me. And I was like, "But the entire thing is portable. I'm not going to leave tables in a random, parking lot or whatever."
To put some
And he's
wheels on the table, right?
yeah, exactly. Or yeah, I mean, there's stands for these ovens that have wheels on them. Does that count? I didn't ask him at that point. I was too nervous, I guess, for the call. And he said, "Sorry, that's what has to happen in Colorado. You need to start over with your idea, and it needs to be on wheels." And so that I had budgeted $6,000 is what I had figured out that it was going to cost for licensing, all of the equipment, tent, all that stuff, and
Hmm.
POS. And so then very quickly I realized we were probably looking more at like $50,000 in just a
Oops.
10-minute phone call. And I mean, there have been many, many times over the last 2 years that I've just wanted to say, you know what? This was fun. This was a fun exercise. We checked a lot of boxes and figured out how to solve a lot of problems in opening a mobile pizzeria. But I think this is the point where we say, okay, we're done. And and there were periods of time. I mean, at one point I had jaw surgery. I couldn't eat pizza for 6 months.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
how am I supposed to do recipe? Yeah, it was, there's
Put
been
it
a
in a
lot of times.
blender, right?
Yeah, I did try that and it is not great.
Oh no,
Yeah, there's been a lot of times I wanted to just walk away. I'm glad we did it. And because, now we're here, we're doing it, and it's a lot of fun.
that's so cool.
That is awesome. Make sure you tell people how to follow you too, because I know you've been promoting the podcast as well, or the series as well. We're trying to get it out there, but I know you've done a really good job about getting it out there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram and Facebooks, it's Sips and Pies, and is spelled out, and sipsandpies.com. And then also I'm sharing it just personally on any platform I'm involved in. I don't really do Twitter, but I do LinkedIn, Facebook, just Mr. Sippy, MRCIPPY.
Excellent. That's really great. You mentioned your family being involved.
Yeah.
How into this idea are your kids?
I think it depends on the day, right? I mean, our oldest, she's about to be a senior in high school, and I think it was fun until we opened, and she's still having fun, but I think she's pizza out now. It's like she just
Yeah, she's like, I'm
it
done.
even though we're only opening every 2 weeks, and that's the cadence we're on right now, it is a lot of our conversation every night between my wife
Mhm.
and I, and we're
Yeah.
asking for tips or thoughts from the kids on, hey, how did, because, they each have their own station. My daughter takes orders. We have two sons and they do the finishing station. So they're cutting, putting it in boxes, handing out orders and doing any finishing steps on that side. So we're always constantly like brainstorming. How can we improve this? What did you guys like? What didn't you guys like?
Hmm.
And so it dominates a lot of especially our dinner time conversations. And I think we need to find that balance, right? Have
Yeah.
set times where we can have those conversations instead of my mind's always thinking about it and I just blurt, or ask questions. And so I think there's little things we can work on there. But overall, once we're set up and once we have orders coming in and it's just flowing, I know they're having a blast. I know everyone is because they've told me and they
Yeah.
really enjoy it. But the outside of that, I don't know.
That's awesome.
Oh, what's your most popular pizza that you offer?
Pepperoni, just a straight up pepperoni. And it's not
Oh
even
yeah.
close. It's surprising. I guess there's going back to the question you asked me earlier, but it wasn't a decision. It was something I learned along the way. Pepperoni is like, it blows everything else out of the water.
Yeah.
And
So
cheese
there's a
doesn't
reason
sell
why
hardly
it's
at
number
all.
one in the country.
No, I knew that.
Yeah.
I've read the reports but to
Yeah.
me, we do a weekly or every time we set up, we do a special. So we have three staples: cheese, sausage, pepperoni, and then we do a special. And I always thought in my mind, and maybe I just romanticized it too much, that the special would be the most popular, right? It's not always offered. That's what people are going to get. And we're not seeing that at all. It is pepperoni all day long.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
interesting. So has that changed how you order in advance of these events at all?
No, not yet. I mean, we've only done at this point when we're recording this, we've only set up 3 times. And so we're still trying to figure all of that out, which has been a fun exercise every week and going and working with food vendors and trying to figure out what to order and not have too much of afterwards and all of that. But no, it hasn't changed anything yet because we're ordering like 10 pounds of pepperoni each time, but we only use like half of it. So we can leave, it just all works out that way. Um, Eventually, I'm sure it will. Hopefully, once we get, busier, we are selling out, but we're not making a ton of dough balls right now. We're only making 70 dough balls every time we go out. And so just trying to really ease into it and go from there.
How
Love
is
that.
finding different spots to have your pop-up? How is that going?
So we've had more people approach us than we've approached them,
Oh, wow.
and so we purposely waited until we had our health department license and all of that before we started trying to find locations because we didn't want to be like, hey, eventually we're going to be able to set up. We wanted to be like, hey, we could set up tomorrow. And so we actually a place where my wife works, there's an empty lot next door. that her company owns, and so they'll let us set up there. And then there's another shopping center right close to our house, which is super convenient. That actually has electrical, ran to a light pole in the middle of the parking lot, so we could just plug into that. So that's been really easy. We've been bouncing back and forth between those two spots, but we've had a lot of people reach out saying, "Hey, do you want to come to this event?" Or "Hey, do you want to do a wedding?" or whatever. So it's been really eye-opening how quickly people will reach out and want you to serve at an event for them, and they've never even tried our pizza. I'm
Oh,
like, wait a
wow.
minute, don't you guys want to try the product first before you're like, hey, come serve at my wedding? Like that's the most important day in your life.
Yeah, for sure. I know that there are a lot of different accounts of pizzerias, especially mobile pizzerias, that you were
Yeah,
following
yeah.
leading up to this and trying to get as much information as possible. What are some that you found really helpful?
So the Outside Pizza Crew, Ryan and Ashley, they're in Denver. They have like a 1970 something Shasta trailer that they converted into a mobile food truck. And actually, I think they just are getting ready to open a brick and mortar inside a brewery. They were beyond helpful. So I stalked so many pages, as you know, and you just said. Um, but I eventually emailed them and I was like, I am so glad I found you on Instagram. Here's why. I'm nearby. Here's what I want to do. They use Gosney ovens in their Shasta trailer. And so I asked for a ton of advice. And it took a week or two before I got the first reply. But once Ryan replied, we were going back and forth. And so I've talked to them quite a bit. Izzy's of Omaha,
Oh
they do
yeah.
Detroit style pizza.
Yeah.
He was on triple, no, he was on Triple D Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives,
Hmm.
and I stalked his page when I was set on doing
Oh
Detroit's because
yeah.
he has a bus and he serves Detroit pizza.
Yeah, it's been to
And,
Vegas with us at
oh
Expo.
yeah, yeah, okay, cool. I missed that. And so I stalked his page like crazy. Jeff Taylor from Staglio Pizza, he's in Maryland. He does pop-ups with a tent. Like this, that's how I found him. Is originally before the call with the health department was I stalked his page, and I've actually met him at Expo. We did the tailgate party with Slice Out Hunger, and I talked to him this last year, 2025. And so those are, I would say, the three main ones that I really, watch closely. And two of the three I've interacted with personally and have a budding friendship, I would say.
That's
Nice. I love
that's
it.
great. Well, Jason, it's been really awesome talking to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and could you remind everybody where they can find you online?
Yeah, so the pizzeria is at sipsandpies.com and is spelled out, and I'm Mr. Sippy on any other platform.
Awesome.
Excellent. All right. Thanks so much, Jason. And
Thank you guys.
I look forward to keep reading your columns.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Me too. Take care.
Have a good day.
All
Bye.
right. Thanks.